Howdy class, I just wanted to do a quick review on what we did last week. And so I'm starting with Photoshop 2017. And if you clicked File, New, you might come up with this screen. But essentially, I'm going to get started with a film video. And what I'm going to choose is the 960 by 720 size. I'm going to create. So notice where width is 960 and height is 720 and resolution is 72, and then it's pixels per inch. I'm assuming these are default, so let's go with this. And now I know that I'm in the default essentials as I reset the default essentials, but I drag these down to size. So I grabbed the edges and pulled them over just so I could get the full image in here at 100% so you can see all of what I'm going to do here. So these lines show up, and those are actually used for placing objects. They're kind of man-made or user-created and modifiable things. They came in with this particular layout representing the screen area. Mostly this was back in the video days when you'd get cut off once you got close to the edge. But it's also handy for helping, not to have things too close to the edge. That way you can see where when you're doing your composition, it's helpful. Okay, so again, the first thing we did was we looked at the different layouts and we picked essentials. We necessarily did a reset. I know I'm cutting off screen here, but bear with me. Reset, and then what I did was I dragged this in, and if need be, drag this in. I'm not sure if you're getting these on your setup, but again, these are actually preferences, or they show like what the values of things are as we're using them, and you can rip them out or you can tear them off and place them in various places. But for right now, we're just working with this standard format with the toolbar down the left side, and their menus. As we select a tool, you'll see things change over here. Properties, for example, if I select the brush with the B key, the brush tool, properties about the brush show up over here. Actually, this is document properties, but needless to say, there's also the black and white representing the foreground and background, and we did go through a little bit of the other menus, but I'm just going to jump around a bit, catching up. Layers, we have one layer currently, and I'm going to close the properties by double clicking on the word, and that just sort of shrink wrap, sort of shrinks that up there. So we have a lot of room for layers here. And to create a new layer, you can go to layers and select, but in production I use these icons down here. So if you click on that, it always places whatever you do on top of what currently was there or selected. So for example, if I select the background layer, it's going to make a layer number 2, and you'd think it would be above it, but I'm going to click, you'll see it's below it. So if I do that again, layer 3 will be placed between 1 and 2, most importantly above layer 1. So notice how there is truth to the understanding of, as a layer it's added, it gets added to the current and on top of the current selected layer. You can tell this is selected because it's a different color, it's highlight. By clicking on a layer just anywhere, you're selecting the layer. To change the name of the layer, if you double click, click about that at that pace, you'll get the ability to change the name of the layer. And there'll be plenty of reasons to have names be unique to material on them as an understanding. for organizational purposes, if you had a bunch of layers with a bunch of things, one being maybe the trees or the shrubs in the foreground, if you have them identified on their layer, and it just takes a moment, but it's really time saver. And then it always calls for starters the background, and it comes in locked. What that means is that it's opaque, it's like paper, you can't see through it. But if you unlock it just by clicking on the unlock, and if you wanted to, for whatever reason, lock it again, you could lock any layer. For example, I could select my first layer and then come up and choose the lock right here and lock that layer. So you won't draw on it. See how see my cursor? It's you can't do anything on that layer. You'd have to be on another layer, and then I would be drawing or painting on that layer. Visibility on, visibility off. So these layers are transparent, on, off, and if I select by holding the Shift key down, I can get all three of those layers. And I can either drag them down to the trash can if I want to delete them, or I could, and notice it placed them below, or I could just click the trash can, which would delete what is currently selected. Okay, so we have our background layer, and we took the lock off so that with the brush we're painting with the current color, and if I select the eraser with the E key, I can erase. Notice how I'm erasing through to, we just understand that this is transparency. Okay. There may be some more things that I covered, but for right now I'm just going to stop with this, because what I want to pick up with is the brush tool. I want to pick up on some intricacies about the brush tool, because I know that I believe I got to this point and I either lost everybody or I let everybody go free to do what they want to do and created some things. So I'm going to stop here.